Alright, back with another Play and Explain. Hopefully this is Play and Explain number 3. Things go well. Not results-wise, but no tables break. Oh my god. Just these players on Ontario are not down to break battle at all. I don't really feel like playing heads up, so I'm gonna give this like 10 hands and we'll see. I think all ace-x opens pure. How did the game just lose so many players so fast? I think Jack did in a frequency will 4-bet, or 3-bet, but not going to in this hand. I think I'm going to hop in the 200 no pool. I think you're just continuing all over to the 9. I think you could raise sometimes, but we'll just call them more often than not. And on the Ace of Hearts River, I think we can overbet, or we can check raise huge as a bluff. I think not having a pair makes the check raise huge as a bluff less appealing. I don't think heads up his range is probably not as overbetty. I think I'm gonna just go for probably like a 2x pot type bet. Seems about correct. It's 79, I think I can open this. Alright, let's hop in the 200 pool and stars. Oh. Thank God someone is joining to save me. Nope, we're not getting a player. Alright, I'll play a couple more. I'll play till I have a fold in the small blind. Probably not gonna review any of the heads up hands. I might take a peek at them if there's like a big hand. Why not? But alright, nice. The fish is back. I don't even know if he's a fish. I shouldn't say it about this guy, but I just know when he left the table, everyone left. So alright, here I think we're gonna check back a lot on this with this type of hand. I'm just gonna check it back. I think playing a solid checking strategy is harder to play versus. I think our hand can honestly maybe get 2 streets of value here. I think with the 9 of hearts, we could probably check again. Maybe with an over to the 9, we prefer checking in. I don't know, for the reason you just saw. If we had hit a king and let's say he folded in like king 10, we missed some money. Here we're gonna do both. On a 57, versus Mikey is pretty stationary, we're just gonna check. Here we opened, and normally I think I simplified actually I think you can bet this board pretty high frequency. Generally most mono boards I think you need to check, but here, also versus a player I expect to be recreational. I'm gonna bet a lot. Here I think we're 4-betting this hand pure to 21 exactly, when he picks this size. We'll be calling off. I do have a reach. He's pretty tight pre. These positions on the table, there's not much I can do. Could almost simplify to checking range. But I do think this player is not 3-winning enough of the pocket pair, so my strategy should deviate from GTO. And I think with the ace of diamonds, and the king of spades, like the double blocker, this is a pretty good c-bet for half pot. Probably just have to call off if he jams. Here on this river, I think we're just gonna reopen. I didn't really pay enough attention to this flop. I probably won't review it because it's a bad excuse when you're not too focused. I was way more focused on the hand below, and I'm also on Discord. It's like why poker you really can't be doing anything else, because if you're multi-tabling, it's enough to be paying attention to one table and then have to plan another. I think this hand's never continuing, but if you're doing one extra thing, it makes it almost impossible. King 9, I'm gonna defend most of the time, and here I think we just fold. In the check line, I think we just check again on this hand. With this hand, I don't think there's anything else to do. And here, I'm just gonna fold. And here, you could block, but I think the best play is to check again. I mean, I think there's a lot of hands you could block with the bluff, but I think overall, we should just check again. I could see block being good. This is a spot I will review. Because I'm sure you could start bluffing a lot for a third. Oh, I was getting ready to 3-bet this hand, but here I'm going to... Versus the 1/3 here, I think this hand is just too weak, so we just call. Doesn't need as much protection, let's say like a 9x hand would. So I think the kicker wouldn't matter too much. 59, I think we're just folding this hand a lot. Here I'm just going to be betting 1/3 a lot, and I think when you have the double backdoor blocker, like you block a lot of these continues, you can bet this hand a lot. I'm wondering if I play leads on the 7. I think we just have to call here. I don't know how bluff this spot really is, but we chop with anything below a jack now. And here I'm trying to think if we continue again. If we continue, I think we want to overbet. I think I'm going to check. He nearly pots it. We unblock all the bluffs. So I'm just going to try and play close to perfect. It's really hard for me to imagine that he found a bluff here, but I'm still going to call. Just because we have a good kicker to call. Okay, and that's why you don't assume too much about your opponent. We pick up the exact same hand. I think it's just like if you have, like, yeah. And by the way, his hand is played completely terrible. I think that's a kind of a spew. Like no equity, 3 streets, and just like slamming the river. Gonna call the queen deuce here. Could actually raise it, I think. Well, he led into us. Okay, we blocked a set. We blocked like one of the nutted hands, and we have a draw. I think this hand will also call 3 streets, depending on the river. I think the king. I think he has a lot of 4x in this line. Oh, that sucks. When he has pocket fours, exactly. I don't know if he folds it on the river, so I don't mind. I think this hand is almost 3-betting pure, so we'll 3-bet this pure, like we said we would. And here, with a heart, I think we're gonna bet a good amount. So I don't know. I saw 21. I'm checking. Where's this opponent? And on this queen, I think just betting performs really well. And here, I think we can almost play half pot range. Never mind, we're big blind. What am I talking about? We should actually probably be building a big checking range here. And on this river, I don't think we rep too many flushes here, but I think we block him from having flushes, so we can bet a queen again. Is the idea. Or like bet one size strategy that I would still bet a queen for. No action with the aces. Okay, I'm gonna try to manage 5 tables. Hopefully we have some spots. 3-handed on a couple of them is pretty crazy. I think here we're supposed to call sometimes. On an 80 versus this opponent, I will call. And I will check. I don't think we raise this board. I saw a higher number than 7, so I'm gonna raise. Should go to 7.5. It's a misplay. I think here with unders to the 6, we just have to give up this hand. Even with the double clean 5s. By that I mean like the suits will always hit a non. Flush completing 5. I still think it's a give up. I should have gone bigger here, but it worked out. And here we're just gonna go to 7.5. King queen off pure. And Tommy are getting into it. Let's see if more 500 action opened. No. Here on a 35, I think double blocking 2 folds in the king queen suited, like blocking king queen of clubs and king queen of hearts, this hand is gonna check back a lot. We rolled a 90, but I still think double blocking backdoors is pretty bad. So we're gonna check this hand. And I think now we just bet a lot. I wouldn't be surprised to see big bet on the double draw version. So I don't mind big bet. Here he bets 1/3 into me. I'm just gonna call it. Just debating raise. I think king 10 doesn't make too much sense. I think I have the right read with this double unblocker. I think here when you have the double bad suits with your offsuit combos, you have to be way more careful. You unblock so many more continues, and yeah, you actually have no additional equity on other streets, as with blocker value as well. Gonna check here. I think we just play pure calls because I think getting shoved on this with this hand is a disaster, so you don't 4-bet it. Ace queen off, you can 4-bet. Now here blocking everything. I'm just gonna call again. It kind of just sucks, but whatever. This guy is just spewing. It's kind of crazy. Here I don't mind checking to keep or betting 1/3. We rolled an 8-9. We'll bet a third. And here I'm just gonna check again. I don't know the logic. I think a lot of his checkbacks that would have to fold in this turn are clubs. Like my exact hand. It doesn't want to rebet and get raised and be in a tougher spot. So I imagine clubs here isn't as good. The thing is sometimes you can get the blocker value wrong and just have the complete opposite read. Here, I don't know what to do. I think I'm gonna check. This spot I think is overfolded. If I wasn't recording, I might just bluff it. But I'm gonna check and lose to a pocket pair. Yeah. But when I'm recording, I'm trying to play a little more solid. I don't know why I just time banked here. Maybe I should also just try and play my game, because here I think this spot is naturally just very overfolded. So here we're going to be 3-betting this hand pure. I like this size. I'm playing heads up here. Okay. I don't want big bet this hand. Could play overbet. Here, I think I'm just going to play 1/3 with range, or at a high frequency. I think you could also play half pot, but I think 1/3 frequently is pretty good. Now I think we will overbet this hand. On this turn in particular, on the jack of clubs, it's not necessarily a great card for my range. He obviously has 10-9, queen jack suited, we block. We unblock all the black door floats. So I think maybe with the ace of diamonds you want to start checking this hand to induce bluffs. Use more random ass like ace 10 of spades, ace 10 of hearts type hands. And let's say if I had those, the non-black door blocker. And here I'm trying to, I think for the same logic we're going to be calling more often than not with this hand. When we do take the line we took. And here I think we're just supposed to call. I could be wrong. And I'm going to call river here. Obviously we could be beat. And some people will never Oh my god. What? Like, oh, dude. Now, there's a lot of things you can do in poker that would, like, really... I don't know if this is a float. I don't like his play. I think you should just size up. I don't think we're supposed to really fold anything to that size, to be honest. I think it's a bad bet. It's, like, weird because this is, like, the bottom of our range, but I still think it's profitable, equity-wise, versus his to call that sizing. Especially since we're in position. Like, he could just have a worse hand that he checks and gives up. Now I think we can sometimes turn this hand into a bluff. To have some hands on a diamond that we want to bluff with, but I don't think necessarily. Honestly, I think actually it would work. I think honestly, Worm's more aggressive when he has something. But that's just my read. Here, I think you can actually play big bet, and I think if there is a hand to play big bet, it's going to be sevens. I don't think we play overbets. We could, I think, but I think ace-6 hurts the fold here. Playing three-handed kind of sucks because I'm constantly... You know what, maybe I'll try and get on a non-three-handed table. And I'm going to play big bet here. Snap, fold. I don't think this hand ever 3-bets as a bluff. I could be wrong. Here we're still 1/3. I'm trying to think. I think you want something of a suit to continue with the king high here. That doesn't have a straight. Like, I think we want hearts or something. There's some extra more. Something that blocks my opponent from having as much equity or something. Here versus the 1/3 on a 25, I think we're just going to flat the ace-jack. Yeah. No blockers. We turn the nuts. And I think... I expect my opponent to be pretty capped here, but... Yeah, I'm trying to think if we check or not. This is a weird spot. I don't want to take too long. I'll comment on what I think after the hand, what I'm thinking of. And I'm going to go for the overbet. Probably should go bigger. What I was trying to think about, and I don't want to take too long, is in this node, we have the double unblocker to the flush draws on the board, right? We have the ace of diamonds and the jack of clubs. And is that more likely for him to have like a check down type hand? Like, what does that have to do with our hand on the river? Because I think most of the hands he checks are gonna have not a flush draw, right? So they're gonna be the jack of clubs and the ace of diamonds. Block most of his check back air hands, or maybe not air hands, but you know, like queen jack of clubs, stuff like that. So I was trying to think if that's more likely for him to end up bluffing the river. I don't know. I'm curious. Because obviously every hand's different. Like one blocker in a certain hand can mean something completely different in another. But the same concept could apply. It's just the inverse is true. So that's why I don't like when you watch a lot of coaching videos, some guy says one thing. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like you bet with the backdoor flush draw, or you don't bet with the backdoor flush draw because you don't want to like get bluffed and lose the equity or have to call. You know what I'm saying? But different things happen in different spots, and it's good to learn the patterns. On a 28, we'll call this hand. Here versus the one, I think we just continue. I think our hand's too weak to raise. I mean, obviously it could raise. You can always raise. I think almost everything can raise when it has zero made properties about it. Never leading on this card. Oh, I got my voice cracked a little. And then on this river, I think we actually unblock a lot of his hands. I think maybe the spades are bad. But I do think the spot might just be a little overfolded. And I think when we call the flop, this is like basically the worst hand we can have. And we're pretty strong. So I don't mind it. Like he needs a hand like this to call me. And I'm completely fine with that calling 100%. Because if he's betting range on the flop, even if I know for a fact he's checking back, let's say 100% of his queen X. I think 10-6 here folds versus 3x. I'm gonna call threes here with two fish, or two perceived fish. And he's checking back 100% of his queen X. He doesn't have that much queen X on the flop, right? He's range betting. So I don't mind it. What is going on? Like, am I just playing versus, like... Are they not giving these guys hands, or what? Like... Hello? And also, that's a spot where you're naturally just gonna want to bluff pretty wide. I think to target a queen, you're gonna have to go very big with your clubs. And you do have a lot of them. So it is important. You probably do want to play a size. You have to mix all three. You have to probably make some checks. Like this just shows the nuance. Like versus an unknown, I think I'm just gonna play standard and fold my ace 10 off. I think it's sometimes 4-bet bluff, but I don't need the balance versus recreational. You're gonna have to find some clubs that check, some clubs that bet 75, and some clubs that play the overbet. And you're gonna have to know which ones want to do which. And every run it's different. But yeah, so I'll probably take a look at that and also upload that because I'm curious. Here I think we're just gonna check at a pretty decently high frequency, and I think King 7 is just gonna check. I think you just have to be really cautious. And here, with the 7 and the over, this might just be too weak. The 7 does have some backdoor properties, but I think we're just gonna have to let it go. It does have 2 overs to the 5. You know what? I'm gonna call. And we're gonna check. And I might send this hand into oblivion. Like one, yeah. I think I might just raise this hand and shovel in. This might be a massive spew. I mean, it probably is. When raising here, we probably want to raise to 100. So that's what? 12, 23.2. 23.2 plus 6. It's like basically 30. Maybe, I think you probably want more combo equity. As played. Wow. Just going to check on this on this card. This is crazy. Pretty capped on when I check on the heart. If I had a flush, I'm basically always gonna shove. So now we have to evaluate, like, do we ever call our hand? I'm sorry, I might think the answer is yes. God, this hand's crazy. The Sharpie guy just gives me the vibe that he's nuttier in this spot. But if he has spades, I think he might just rip it. We block 7-8. And I don't know, our set's jamming for value. That's the question, right? I think I'm gonna call him. That's just so unfortunate. Like, that's like the perfect hand he could have. What a joke. I should have gone with the, read that this guy sucks. Okay, that sounds toxic. That's not true. He might find bluffs. I shouldn't be. Just every single time, like, you start to feel a certain way when you play versus a certain player, and they just never have a bluff in the bigger spots. They just seem to have mucks. Here, I think that we have the type of hand that does want to polarize to an overbet here. But yeah, I think that hand's a bit punty. I think we want to raise the turn, and we need to have a 7 with a backdoor. For the main reason, like, for example, let's say if... God, the King of Hearts is such a shitty card. I was immediately going to fold when he reopened, because I just assumed that he would not. But if I'm calling King X, then maybe he's... Yeah. Just unfortunate swap. He's a pretty solid candidate to check flop, but he probably doesn't play checks. That hand was kind of a blast off, to be honest. It was just when you float the 7, whatever, but I think we need to have the backdoor. But it's okay. Sometimes you just do like random shit where you just lose like 100 big blinds. Calling it off, I don't know, it really depends on the player. I just didn't think he could have hearts too often. But I guess he has hearts pretty often in practice. Like, what else is he calling a raise that big too? Here I'm just gonna call versus recreational. I'll leave rivers a king. Let me remind myself of the action. I felt like I just had to call. God, these videos, I'm just getting rinsed in every video because I'm kind of trolling. I don't think I've gotten a stack on my video yet. Like, I'm actually playing versus the nuttiest players of all time. I don't know what it is. Like, I think that call is probably really bad for Sim, actually, the more I think about it. It's so hard for me to imagine this guy ever bluffing in that spot. I think I just check again here with my ace jack. And on the river, it's like weird because he's gonna fold so much, but my hand's probably just slightly too good to bluff. But maybe it's just a wasted opportunity because maybe he folds way too wide, and I should just be over bluffing. King Jack on a 79, I think, is gonna open. Definitely not opening it pure under the gun. I've only been recording for 36 minutes, that's crazy. Or 26, sorry. Ace-6 just opening pure. Oh, it looks like there is a 2-5 running on stars. Maybe when I record I am just in a puntier mood. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm not really gonna get discouraged over one stock. Or 10. Or 20. Here versus 1/3. I think we have to continue here. This hand. I always think we have to fold and then I think about it more and I think we have to continue. On a 35, I think this hand just calls. Oh, I messed up here. I'm supposed to. Now, I think this hand can turn into a bluff. Here. I shouldn't have played this hand too snavos. I like bluffing now. Anyway, here do we bluff on the king? And I think the answer is no. I think our hand is too strong. I think he can bluff some ace-10 and shit like this. I think he's gonna call that hand. He should call it pure. Practice, maybe he's in it, so it's hard to tell. Wish I had a better read on this player. He's just newer to the pool. Pretty mad at myself for calling actually and paying them off. One of the worst hand they've tabled for stocks is like a set of 4s. It's the worst hand I've seen this guy get in. Ace-6 I think is folding pure. I think we've all been there. We should spew our stock off. I don't know. Hopefully I run it in Sika. But I think in practice, just a river call. It's just no need. I think when we check river, we're probably just full of check folds. But it sucks because we hit a king. And then when he shadows, like he has to basically just have hearts, and we have to call like 50% of our hands for MDF. Obviously, like in practice, like most of our checking range is going to be give ups. But Jack-6 on a 60, I think we're just going to call. Now here it's either a 250 spot or check. I'm trying to think. We rolled a pretty high number. We could go 250% with this hand. You know what? For the content. Most of his checking range is going to consist of ace highs, so you just bet a size that makes that indifferent. You're basically betting a hand that beats an ace, and then you're betting equity. It's not too hard of a line to actually play. And on the river, you have to evaluate different turns. That might not be a spot for it, but I think it's okay. Jack's here versus Worm. Gonna do both. I think here, I don't mind going for the 4 bets. And when you 4-bet, we're gonna have to call off. He's pretty aggressive. So I like to 4-bet him a lot. Flop the giga nuts, unless he has queens. But he should shove that, but he might not. It's okay. We'll hit quads. Jack of clubs. Now here, I think if there was a hand to down bet on this board, it would be this one. I wonder if we can build checks, because if we do, we obviously would consider this hand. But I think we're just going to go to 8.5 bigs. Sucks for us. I think here we're just betting a lot of half pot in 75. And I think here with the spade, you're a little more passive, but I still think we'll go half pot. Now here on a 69, that's going to be enough for us to 4-bet this guy. He's very tight 4-betting, so I don't mind being more aggressive anyway. 3-betting. This guy's been very aggressive, so I'm going to call the queen jack of diamonds. Alright, good luck us. We win the first. Here I'm just going to bet half pot again. And the reason being is we have a spade, which makes it more likely he has these offsuit floats that now start to fold. King queen of hearts, king jack of hearts, stuff like this. Oh my god. Let's hope he doesn't have pocket eights. On the river, we're obviously, there's nothing to do but shove this hand. And yeah. Going to just call here on the bottom. Give him by the tank, I don't think he can beat a king. Alright, we're rallying. Just have to suck out on everyone to make up for the fact that we spew stacks. What hand did this guy table? I don't even see. King 10 off. Alright. Good to know the type of hand he's 3-betting. Funny enough, I don't mind just this guy's opening, so I don't mind re-raising him here. I think we have a good... You know what, actually, there's no merit in bluffing this hand, actually, now. I would think about it. I think he would probably bluff if he lost to me. I think here you're supposed to just pure call the king jack suited. We did roll the 93. I know versus cutoff it starts the pure call. But I think versus under the gun, the roll kind of swaps. But nonetheless, I don't mind calling it. Have to fold here, and here I think we just have to continue versus a guy with such a wide range. I might just call river, to be honest. This might be overdoing it, but... Yeah, for me to fold, he'd have to rep a size that reps a 9. Because as played, a fish, that's going to be the hand he has the most here. And here I think we're just mostly calling ace queen off. I think I'm actually just leaning folds. We just have an ace here so much that I'm just like, okay, who cares, nice in. And our hand doesn't really beat much. Gonna just call an ace queen here to the size. Yeah, the ace of clubs is kind of unfortunate, but I still think ace queen's never folding. You start to look at the blockers, probably more when the whole hand class becomes more indifferent. And here when he polarizes, I think we have a pretty clear fold. I think actually most of his bluffs here should be clubs as played when he bets 1/3 on the flop. If he's betting all of his hands 1/3, then the clubs actually become better bluff candidates because I start to fold random diamonds and hearts. Yeah, this actually 12 guy is supposed to be solid reg, but his 3-bet is so low, it might be just be insane variance. First 3-bet I saw him play was a very, very strong hand, like top 3% revenge hand. Versus this guy, we're just not going to fold anything we open, basically. Outside of something very weak, he's 3-betting 1/3 of his hands. Now I'm trying to think what we want to do here versus a guy who's so wide 3-betting. To be fair, I don't think he c-bets too often. Like, he checked that one board. I think we should just call and evaluate with this little equity. I think raising is attractive versus a guy 3-betting so much. But I think we should still call and evaluate. Jack 10 gets there, and we obviously have the greatest hand to rep it ever. Unfortunately, we have like no equity now. So if he bets, we have nothing else to do but fold. But on the river, I think our hand becomes a very solid bluff. Not gonna make it there though. I also don't think a player like this, the Jack 10 blocker is relevant. He will never check that hand. For right reason, if I had his image, I probably would never check Jack 10 either. Alright, probably gonna record this for like 15 to 10 more minutes. I think ace jack here is never folding. So yeah, I think we're going to call it. I could be wrong, could start folding. I think it's also a 4-bet bluff. It's like, maybe it's doing all three. Versus this size, I don't mind both. But I think with this hand in particular, it actually makes more sense as a call. Because you don't want to polarize yourself to too strong of a range, and your hand actually has a good amount of equity versus his non-good hands. It's too early to be turning it into a pure bluff. When he checks, I think we have a pretty good hand to reopen for 20%. Here, just folding. I think pocket tens here is just a pure call. So we're just gonna call. Flop the nuts. Now the question is here how often we want to raise tens. And I think he has very little 10x that picks this sizing. So I think tens should be a pretty good candidate to raise. When we raise this board, we probably don't raise too big. So I think we'll raise 50%, given that there's already a made nuts here. I don't think you want to polarize too much, because I still think you want to be able to raise other hands, besides 8-9. On this card, I think we can down bet most of our range. I think we have a good amount of 9x that was bluffing. Maybe we just simplify to a check, but you know what, in this, I don't mind just betting 1/3. I think like his aces now is just like, and his like ace jack that cannot improve at all to a hand that beats the 9. It's just having a really annoying time dealing with shit like this. And now this is just a joke. Here I think we're just gonna check, and I don't even know what to think. I'm gonna bet 1/3 at a high frequency here. I think almost range. I think range might be actually. I think 1/3 with range here is okay. And I think we're just gonna have to call here. I was trying to evaluate it. Oh my god, I actually just can't believe that run out. That's absurd. He can never fold ace queen. Maybe we should have considered the river. Maybe in practice he's just not reopening anything worse. Here I'm just gonna check as played. I don't see how we fold the river. And here I'm just gonna call fives. I'm gonna call here, even though like I don't even know what the hell's going on, dude. Okay. Nice hand. So we're not running too good right now. What a joke with the pocket tens, eh? What a joke. Here versus Mikey, I don't mind calling. I think we have to call at least once with this hand. I don't know, maybe I'm out of it. Maybe I'm not playing too well. And he checks, we're gonna check. I just has a queen. This is one of those, sometimes you just catch these stretches in poker where you are actually just always running into a hand. Like, we play every single ace pop, this guy's top pair better. The guy flops trips are better. Anyway, on a 91, I think we're gonna raise this hand. I don't think this hand pure calls. I think it does get in here. When you check this, I think we just have to fold here. Gonna 3-bet the ace-8. And here, we can probably come close to range betting on the super disconnected board. Nonetheless, I think this imp performs pretty okay as a bet. And on this turn, I think we want to bet again. I think we probably put half pot. I normally just like this half bet on the flush completing card. And yeah. We have a pretty good candidate to bluff on a 4th spade. Just because you don't want to polarize too much, I think. Now here the question is, do you want to bet with the BFD? And I think the answer is yes. Sometimes it depends on the king class. Like ace jack might not want to, and ace queen and ace king might want to, or the inverse. But I think generally on this board, I think half pot range, I think it's just going to perform very well. So just whatever you feel more comfortable doing, it's also important to remind yourself that. Not necessarily because doing what's more comfortable is better. Sometimes you actually need to learn how to get uncomfortable, but in that spot, it's not that I don't want to. I'm leaning one way or the other on what I'm more comfortable doing. I just kind of have a lean on what I prefer will work more often. And I think defending the checking range there is not as important for this type of player. Just gonna check call here. Here we're unblocking a lot of bluffs. I don't think he has basically any bluffs with the ace of diamonds in them. At least he shouldn't. So I think we're gonna have to call at least 2. I could be wrong, but I think I'm gonna call him here again. And on river, I expect to lose a shit ton to jack 10, jack 8, and I'm just never calling now. Jack 10, king 10, all this, like obviously he's gonna bet king 10, but he has a lot of jack X that checks river. So we just lose a shit ton. So I think we might have to, I don't know. Also in practice, like, I don't know. I don't know if my hand is a call. I think my ace logic makes a lot of sense, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we call. I think a lot of his bluffs should have a lot of equity versus my hand. And maybe he's the type of player that just doesn't stop. Your deuces calls at a frequency, but I think most often than not it's gonna fold. Oh, that's unfortunate. Would I have got it in for Sharpie? Probably not. She had quads full. Now I'm doing the thing that other people do. When you table value versus them in a spot, you just go, oh, I knew you weren't bluffing. But obviously you're supposed to have more value than bluffs. That's the only thing that merits the bet in the first place. This would be a fun session to review. I said on my one hand that I'm pretty sure it's an obvious punt the more I think about it. Jack 2-3. I'm just gonna be checking a lot. I just like checking a lot of the small blind. Sometimes bites me in the ass, but he's doing his high frequency 1/3 here, and I think we're just gonna call the weaker Jack X. An overcard comes while completing a flush. I still think, I don't know if we're folding any Jack X. We might start to fold some because we are calling a lot of 10x, but I think we're gonna call. I still think a jack is too strong. I have no clue about anything about this guy, but I think I'm gonna flat in the small blind. And here on the river, I'm just gonna have better hands to call with. I really don't think the spot is too bluffed at this point. It's really hard to find a bluff. I'm just going to fold. I could lead, I think, versus this player, with this type of hand. Alright, I'm gonna have to get up and leave. We're playing heads up now. Gonna call with the pocket tens and turn a 10. Oh. I kind of regret calling that one river. Going to be calling again here. Could raise for protection, but 143. And I'm gonna check and I'm gonna call the river. The queen isn't very good for me. I think a lot of his bluffs should have a queen. But then again, then that being said, versus an unknown. I'm just going to check. What did he have? King 9. Yeah, so he gave that one up. I think here with a mate 8, we can check it to check some 8x. I don't know. If my thought process is correct, but King 9 gonna call here. Here I think we can actually go for value. I think he has to call some 7 and 6x. And I think here we have to, this is probably the worst continue we have. Wow. We block straights. We block 8-9. You know what, I actually think this hand's supposed to call sometimes. I don't think it's a pure fold. I actually think a queen is not as good either. I'm going to actually call. Okay, this guy just has it. The question here is on the river, do we bluff? I think when he checks, I think we're gonna fold here. This player does bluff a lot, so I actually think we have a decision, but I think a lot of his bluffs might have 9x. I'm gonna check here. I think this Sharpie guy, in theory, I should play heads up first, because I haven't seen him table one bluff, and you cannot win heads up without redlining. But I'm just not gonna play heads up. Maybe I'm starting this narrative because I'm just very frustrated with the fact I called him earlier. And honestly, this probably isn't one of my better sessions, if I'm being real. But 8-6 here on 92 with the fish in the big blind, I'll justify it to myself. 7-4 here. I think sometimes 3-betting. Here I think we gotta be careful to not build the pot too big. We should be raising some flushes, but I think we also want some delayed raises. And this hand can pick up some combo draws that can become them. I think in the delayed raise, we are probably supposed to go very big. So what's 100? 11, 11. Basically 25. Oh, we would have made Jin. Oh my god. Oh my god, imagine he called. He's gonna just call the 7-5 on a 31. I'm gonna stop playing heads up on my next big. It's just hard now with the way they changed the GG. You can't put sit out next big blind. I don't know why they did that. They made it just impossible to leave tables. So we have 2 tables going. I think we might end it in a sec now. It's been 48 minutes. You know what? I'm going to end it now. Hopefully the session was good. I'm going to review it and make sure it wasn't a disaster. But yeah, I think we lost a bit, but I don't think we lost too much. Might have lost like 600 or 700, maybe less. Might have been actually closer to break even. We did get a stack back. Anyway, thank you for watching.